On this episode of Ask the Experts, we are sitting here with Ben Walker, owner of Transcription Outsourcing. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Rick.
Nice to have you. So tell me about transcription outsourcing. It seems like a very generic term. What do you guys do?
It is generic. I
Mhm,
don't necessarily like the name.
mhm.
It was picked because of its search engine optimization
Ooh,
and Google.
mhm. Was that you who did that?
Well, a search engine optimization company, when I
Mm,
was thinking about starting this company, gave me a list of names and it seemed like the most normal at
mhm.
the time. It rolled off the tongue easy, even though it is long. Transcription outsourcing. Um, yeah, it rolled off the tongue easier, and it fit for what we were looking for to
Mhm.
be a company found online instead of the traditional marketing and sales
Uh-huh.
approach. Yeah, we were
Got
going
it.
for people finding us online.
Oh, that's interesting. That is a very neat way of starting. So you formed your business by thinking about SEO first.
Yes.
That's very cool.
At the time, we were a medical transcription only company,
Mhm.
and we were losing medical clients to the changes in healthcare, doctors digitizing and pointing and clicking and not dictating as much as they used to.
Mhm.
So, through research online, we found that there were other industries out there that needed transcription, like the legal and law enforcement industries. Then we started getting calls randomly to our offices in Denver saying, "Hey, can you help us with a court hearing?" And we would tell them no. And then I finally started asking them, "How did you find us?" And they said online. And I said, "But we're a medical transcription company." And they said, "Yeah, but we need transcription."
What's the
So
difference?
yeah, it kind of grew out of that. And
Yeah.
then we started talking to an SEO company. And they said, yes, there are thousands of these searches. And since then, it's gotten bigger. Like there are
Cool.
many thousands.
Cool. Well, I mean that's really exciting. Have you found that that your business has just continues on an upward trend now that you have more more varying industries that are using your services?
Yes and no. We were on a great upward trend till March of last year.
Hmm.
And then that stalled out, and we actually declined about 65%
Oh.
for a few months.
Hmm.
We are heavily dependent on independent contractors. So unfortunately, they took the brunt of the hit.
Hmm.
We've since gotten back to where we were pre pandemic,
Hmm.
and now we're starting to grow again. And it comes from online acquisition for the most part. Like we talked to a small police department this morning in Indiana that needs transcription services, and they're going to start sending us files this afternoon because they found
Interesting.
us online. They looked us up. They made sure we were legit. I talked to them for a half hour. They're good to go.
Cool. So if you were to start a business today, because I assume that that you've been doing this for a few years. If you were going to start a business today, what would be the first few things that you would be thinking about? Would you still be going down the route of SEO?
Yes,
Yeah.
without a doubt. In a different way, though. So, back then, when we started 11 years ago, search engine optimization could be done pretty easily with the appropriate on page
Hmm.
work. So, keyword density, URL structure, alt tags, things like that. And it was easy to do. Well,
And
I
today
shouldn't
that
say,
means nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I would go SEO, but I would focus much more on digital public relations
Hmm.
to get backlinks,
Yes. Yes.
to spread the word to more people as quickly as possible through major publications, being a guest on podcasts,
Hmm.
um, you name it, but public relations would be the number one focus I would have now.
I would absolutely agree. In fact, so my domain has been up now for a little over 2 years or almost 2 years. Um, but it wasn't until the last 6 months where I started really thinking about backlinks and content and writing the right content that I could rank for and that sort of thing. And finally, I'm starting to see those results. So I would definitely agree that PR is much more important today. And your sphere of influence and getting people together, that is much more important today than it was in the past, because anybody can write your target keyword 27,000 times on a page, right?
Yes.
And link to random places. It's got to be targeted places that you want to be linked to.
Yeah, and then the backlinks that you receive
Yeah.
need to be from places that make sense for your business.
Relevant ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's quite good advice. Now, what about so during obviously this is the pandemic time. How do you handle remote workers? I mean, or people going to the office? Has your office changed?
It's changed slightly. We were remote to begin with.
Mhm.
There were 4 of us in Denver, and right before the pandemic, one took a new job in October, so 4 months before, and another one took a new job in February. So I got extremely lucky that 2 of my full-time employees resigned and left on their own before I would have had to let them go.
Funny how that
All of our
works.
independent, yeah, that was the good timing. All of our independent contractors have always been remote, and we have 50 or so independent contractors scattered around the US. And then we were bringing on employees remotely anyway, because we found that our niche of transcription is somewhat difficult to find people here in Denver. So we found some people in other states, and I'm not going to, force them to move to Denver to be in the office with us. So we had started making that transition already. We had an employee in North Carolina, employee in Virginia, employee in Michigan. So that wasn't new for us. There were multiple of us in the office here in Denver, and now it's me by myself. So that's changed. I'm here every day by myself. We were remote already for the most part.
So for you, it just makes total sense. And
Yeah.
when it comes to just circle back to PR, what are some of your PR tricks that work, that seem to work for you? Not necessarily for everybody, but that work for you.
When we put out new content, I share it on LinkedIn and Twitter almost immediately to get clicks on it. So Google will recognize it. I mean, you can obviously upload the new URL in Google Search Console and get it indexed immediately. It helps though when other people are clicking on it all over the world. We also write with much more intention now than we did in the past. It wasn't just kind of get new stuff up. Now we really think about it and do a ton of research and editing before it gets up onto our blog or a guest post or even a quote in someone else's article. We put in a lot of time and effort.
I think that's very relevant for 2021. I think it's the only way that, or one of the pillars at least, to getting any search ranking. So I think that's definitely good advice. And is that something that you continuously do, or do you stop at some point?
Oh no, it's continually evolving and adapting for sure. Right now we're dabbling with data journalism, so we're including a lot of data that is easily consumable and shareable at the same time. We're putting statistics in and numbers and charts and graphs because they're so much easier for the brain to take in and digest. They're easier to share because it makes more sense where you don't have to explain it to me. You can say, hey, look at this new trend and whatever it is. And you send it to me and I see a chart. I immediately understand it. You don't need to go into paragraphs after paragraphs telling me how to understand it.
Right. So an infographic can, it's kind of like the, picture says 1,000 words sort of thing.
Yes, it can be an infographic. Sometimes infographics may have too much information, so
Mm,
it's even simpler than some of those.
mm.
Although there are really good infographics, don't get me wrong. Some of
Right.
them are really busy though.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can be. They can be, definitely. Interesting. And so, what about pay-per-click advertising? Do you use any of that?
We have in the past, and we've done Google ads many times. Again, our niche is very specific and it's also very competitive.
Mhm,
Paying that much per click doesn't really work for us.
mhm.
Our
Would take a
client
long
acquisition,
time to get that money back.
yes.
Yeah.
One of our biggest competitors spends about $50,000 a month on Google ads. And for us to catch them, we would have to spend 50 grand a month. But their target market is also different than ours, even though we would be competing with them on Google search. Yeah, we want residual clients that come back to us every month, like a police department, a sheriff's office, a doctor's office, or a courthouse. They don't compete in those industries because they're not secure. They don't have HIPAA compliance or CGIS compliance. But yet we would still be competing against them in Google Ads because they go after the same terms, but they don't get the repeat business like we do. If that
I
makes
see.
sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. So if so, what's next for your business? What are the growth plans? Like where do you want to be, or where do you see your company? Do you see selling it at some point, or branching out into other things or other products?
Well, we're actually in the process of hiring a dedicated sales person to help grow out our government work. We have a lot of government work and government contracts.
Mhm.
We want to expand that. So I've been interviewing people for 3 months actually.
Wow.
We're whittling it down. Well, it's a very specific expertise
Talent. Yeah.
for. It's government cooperative contract
Hmm.
selling, and not a lot of people have done that.
Hmm.
It's like if you're familiar with, I know you're Canadian, but you may be familiar with GSA. That's a cooperative type of agreement that sells to federal agencies in the US.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's specialized sales.
So
Like,
you've got to be you got to you should have some experience in that firsthand.
yes,
Mm.
although it's not GSA. I use that as
No.
an
Right,
example.
as an example. Sure, no problem. Cool. Well, I mean, I think this is absolutely good advice. It's actually very similar advice that I would give somebody that was looking to start out. So you've validated my thoughts.
That's assuming we're right, though, that these are
Well,
good ideas.
well, they're for now. I mean,
Yeah.
we both get free traffic from Google to our website, and you're providing a service, and my site gives information about personal finance. Nice.
I don't think I would sell the company, though. To answer your question,
Mhm.
I've had some people ask about that, and I'm not interested right now because I think there are more things we can do,
Mhm.
like building out the government work. A really close sister type service is translation, and we do a decent amount of Spanish translation right now. And there's obviously a lot more translation to be had. So I think we would maybe go that way next to add it to what we do already.
Sure. Well, that sounds good. So if somebody wants some more information about transcriptions, where can they visit you?
They can find us online at transcriptionoutsourcing.net.
Mhm. Perfect.
And
And we're going to go ahead and put a link in the description below.
okay, good. They can also call our offices in Denver. We're here 8 to 5 Mountain Time
Mhm.
at 720-287-3710. We provide transcription services for like I briefly mentioned before, the medical, legal, law enforcement. We work with a lot of universities doing research transcription.
Mhm.
We've worked with authors, podcasters. We're going to help with a project at a museum in the DC area that would be transcribing and translating German letters written during the 19 teens toward the end of World War I, all the way up to the start of World War II. So
you're expanding your reach. You're thinking outside of the box and using your expertise to be able to deliver a product to many other industries. And that is a super important thing, I think, for anybody who's in business, because they might be working in one specific vertical, but for whatever reason, you might have a little bit too much competition, or maybe the vertical dries up. The more verticals that you can be in, the better you are, because then you're just sort of diversifying with what you know. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's all the same thing. Whether you're transcribing for a book or you're transcribing a legal issue, I mean, the product at the end of the day is the same thing.
Exactly.
Or at least very similar.
Yeah, you're right. And our people can adapt to this, because it's not like we're going out and finding new people to do this. We contact our group of 50 that we know, well, not all 50, but we know out of those 50 that there might be 7 that can do this. So we'll tell them what the pay is and when it's due, and do they want it or not? And that's on purpose. We have people that are very multifaceted. They're talented at many things. They're almost all college educated. They know what they're doing. And when people call us, we tell them yes, because we can figure this out and we can do a really good job for them.
That sounds great. Ben Walker from Transcription Outsourcing, thank you so much for sitting down and giving us a little bit of time today and explaining to us how you'd start a business today and how your business works.
Thanks, Rick, for having me. Yeah.
You bet.